So before I get started, I wanted to ask a couple of questions, because I know part of the goal for a farm is to really become the main event for thought leadership. And then part of that is two things: asking questions and listening carefully to the answers and really thinking about the answers. So in that spirit, I want to ask a couple of questions of the audience. And so by show of hands, how many people have been involved with the obsolescence field for 10 years or less? 5 years or less? 2 years or less? Okay. Second question, if I can remember what it is. How many of you are a 1 or 2 person operation in regards to obsolescence management? Okay. So good. So maybe some of what I share may be useful for you. I don't know. So really what I want to talk about is some of the data management lessons that we've learned over the last 25 years of being in this business. As Rob said, starting from ground zero, not knowing what obsolescence management was, and moving forward to where we are today. One of the things that was highlighted is the issue with mergers and acquisitions. And so really I kind of tweaked my presentation a little bit to talk about what I see, and looking back over some of the other articles, a lot of other people see as a real problem that's coming to our industry. Brief outline of what I'm going to cover. So as some of you may know, the real cost for maintaining any system is really not in the development or procurement of that system. It's really in the sustainment of that system. So most of your cost is going to be in sustaining your system after it's been fielded. And for those in the sustainment field, which is where I do most of my work, the longer the system is in service, or the longer the life of the system, and the more the system is extended, the greater the cost, the greater the risk, the more impact you will see in regards to obsolescence management. So as was stated, the trend is towards more and more mergers and acquisitions. And one of the real impact of that is that, as it says, day 2, job 1 is going to be consolidation of product line. Lots of reasons for that. That's one of the biggest drivers in doing these mergers and acquisitions, being able to basically increase the bottom line. And so the focus really is not so much on how many customers we may have buying a product. It is how profitable that product is. How does that product fit within the goal or the new plan that we have for this merger and acquisition? As stated, over the years, the last few years, the increase in PCN has significantly increased. One of the things that we saw back from 2014 through probably 2016, we noticed that there was actually a decrease in the number of EOLs without any real apparent impact on the number of parts being obsoleted in that time frame. What we did notice was that really what it did was drive down the number of sources of supply, but the parts were still available. But we know that that is something that is not going to last for very long. Also, over the years, 40% or more of those PCNs are not notified to the customer base. So moving forward, there's a lot of unknowns. So to be able to handle this impact that is coming, that is here, and that's going to get worse over time, there are a few basic things that you really need to do. The first of those is you really need to basically what I say, own your data. But what that really means is you need to have a thorough understanding of what is your data, what do you need to do, and also a little bit further than that is what are the requirements that your customers have in regards to what they're trying to do. So at the start of a DMS program, usually you have a pretty good idea of your bill of material. So you have that information, you think you know what you need to do, but there are a lot of other unknowns that may exist that can impact the end results of what you're trying to do. Because when all is said and done, our goal is really not obsolescence management. Our goal is to ensure product availability for as long as there is a viable business case for it. So in regards to that, some of the unknowns that may impact you, even though you may think you have a handle on your data set, is within your company, within your group, how many other divisions or products are doing some form of obsolescence management. So you may work and come up with this last time buy, but if you don't have a way of fencing that material you just bought, other programs can come in and basically get that material right from under you. So you're back to ground zero, not having your program covered. Another area that may impact you that you don't think is really an issue is, okay, so you have your bill of material, you know all the parts, you know what you want to do, but what about support equipment? Is there any testing equipment, support equipment that is needed to be able to actually deliver that final product? So it's those types of things that you really need to be mindful of and aware of that are really unknown. And if you are really so focused, narrowly tunnel focused on, I have my bill of material, I know what part types I'm going to status, and life is good, you can easily get blindsided, as Taylor was talking about before. So one of the first things that a lot of people discover is, okay, I have a part and it's obsolete. But the real question is, it's discontinued, but does it really impact me? A lot of times people end up spending a lot of resources chasing an item that really has no impact on your system at all for various reasons. Now, I'll talk about those later. One of the things also that you will discover is if you are maintaining a obsolescence management program for any length of time, the data that you initially start off with is not going to be the same data set that you're covering and managing 5 years, 10 years, 15 years later. So you need to be aware of the need and the unavoidable intent that the data is going to change. So all of that you need to really be prepared for. And one of the things I like to say is, don't get lost at sea. Because as you begin to evolve your data set, as the requirements from your customers begin to evolve, and they will, because we've seen it over the last 15 years, the industry has come a long way. 20 years ago, electronics were the only thing that was of concern. Now that has totally changed. Hardware, everything else, chemicals, you name it, those are all items of concern. Also, the focus has also grown to pricing, which was not a consideration because of where the program started many years ago. So there are a lot of different things that can really flood you with information, with data that really doesn't give you the information you want. Last night I was talking with someone and they said, we have lots of data, but it really doesn't give us the information that we need. And the best way to handle that is really to create a simple obsolescence management plan. 2-pager, 3-pager, whatever it is. Even though your data is going to grow, it is still a good thing to have as much data as possible. A best practice is to load the full hierarchical configuration of the platform, the product that you are managing. I know there are people who would disagree with me about doing that, but they would be wrong. because there are a lot of advantages to doing that, one of which is counterfeit detection, or any kind of notification that may come about. And it doesn't have to be in your DMS tool, but somewhere within your system, your data management system, it can be your ERP or whatever, you need to have that full hierarchical configuration of your system, because that's going to be critical when you really go to resolving an obsolete part. Where is it used? How many times is it used? All those factor into what is the final solution and what is the appropriate solution. So let me quickly click through this. So basically what this is showing is that you may have all your parts, but not all your parts are going to be DMS issues. Okay, so you identify the parts that are DMS issues, but even though it's a DMS issue, a lot of those parts never fail or seldom fail. So you may not have any manufacturer, you may only have a few in stock, but if it never fails, it is not an impact to your system. So really where you want to spend your time and your energy and your focus is looking at the parts that are DMS and also the parts that fail. And that's really where you want to spend your time and focus your resources, because whether you're a 2-man shop or a 20-man shop, there's usually more work than you can do. So once you have that data, it's very important to make sure that you safeguard it. Quality is job number one. That is the one thing that can really distinguish a program from any other. Basically, as a competitive advantage, you need to spend the time and effort to put together a quality management system. One that can identify errors in your system, that can feed it back through and create basically a closed loop for making sure that you don't propagate an error throughout your system. And a lot of obsolescence issues we have found have been solved easily by identifying the correct part number, correcting typos or other things that may actually have people chasing something that is not a real part. This is one of my favorite slides. So you can put together a really simple program. You can do it very manually, but I can tell you it is not scalable. And the only thing more frightening than this picture is having 4 or 5 of those and trying to get the job done. So really, automation is the key to being able to scale your program. It's key to maintaining the quality of your system. It's key to reducing the risk, reducing the cost, and also, I think Tyler talked about it a little bit earlier about the knowledge gap. Because one of the things that happens with an automation system is you actually end up capturing the business rules and the knowledge that is being put into your system. So any process that you can, definitely try to automate that. This is an example of where we started many years ago, and this was actually version 2.0. The first one was a handwritten sample that we filled out. So this was a major step forward, but it was still very manual. And over the years, we developed, a whole set of systems that really automated a lot of this process. So as we identified errors in the systems, we would go back and we would create a rule to detect that, so that we were increasing the productivity, we were increasing the ability to scale, and we were also producing a much more quality output that was repeatable. And can't speak enough about automating your processes, and also being able to make sure that if you put all this time and effort into creating a set of automated systems, you got to make sure that they are up and running, because it's almost as bad as having one of the netbooks and having no internet. You can't do much of anything. So definitely spend the time and energy to make sure your system stays up. This is what I really wanted to get to, which is the first line of defense against the merger and acquisition impacts is going to be your supply chain. Taking the time to develop a strong win-win relationship with your suppliers at all levels is critical. I know a lot of times people, especially if you're dealing with COTS, You think you can't get the bill of materials, or you think all they want to do is just sell you whatever it is that they have. But a lot of times you will find out that your suppliers have the same issues that you have. They get blindsided. Your tier one gets blindsided by your tier two, who gets blindsided by your tier three. So if you're able to put together a program that is a win-win for all, and we've done this with one of the programs, it was the Beechcraft program, the T6, which was 90% COTS. So what we ended up doing was, the goal was to get the bill of materials for the COTS items, which was, at first pass, the response was very low. So they actually developed a program that we went out and we actually spent the time and effort to do site visits to critical vendors, suppliers, and explain what we were trying to do, address any issues they had, sign all the NDAs and everything else that, legal, whoever wanted to have, and really explain to them what we were trying to do. And the benefit of it was that we would take whatever data they provide, put it into the system, and they would get an obsolescence report at no cost to them. So it became a win-win for everybody. And we were really successful in actually getting the information that was needed to put together the program that the customer was looking for. In addition to your suppliers, and I think it was mentioned before, it is critical that you broaden your scope and your perspective of what you're trying to do. And this has to be a team effort. There was a question before about management. What do you need to do? The thing is, you need to keep management in the loop. You need to take into account, and you need to be aware that there are others who are going to be critical to the success of what you're trying to do. And the more you can actually create that team, provide information to them, give your vendors, give your suppliers an idea of what your needs are going to be, what the demand is going to be. A lot of times they may obsolete a part because no one's bought for them in forever. So they think no one has a need for it. So really, if we can increase that communication, take the time and effort to develop this full DMS team, even though they may not all meet at once or they may not ever meet as a team, it is still critical. I know within SC22, they talk about developing a DMT, but I'm talking about something that's a little bit broader than that, but that is critical. So since I only have 34 seconds left, it's important to know that success in this field, especially going forward, is going to be a team effort, but failure is going to be one also. So wherever you may fit within that, you have a very firm contribution in what the outcome would be. So in conclusion, I'll leave you with 4 main things that you need to take away from this presentation. 1, mergers and acquisitions will continue, and they will have a significant impact on your ability to maintain your system. 2, you need to know your data inside and out and that of your customer and what their requirements are. 3, automation is key. It is what will enable you to be able to scale your system, to be able to meet the increasing need, and to increase the quality while you are being able to produce more and manage more systems. And lastly, it really is a team effort. And the time and effort you put into creating and developing that team is really going to pay off in more productive systems, longer lasting system, and much lower costs. Thank you.